Mr. Deity.
Something that you're looking forward to?
Passing school, being in high school.
All right.
Okay. That's what's up.
That's right. I'm Willie. The skeleton. I'm feeling 9 on my road. Being here and be able to talk. My door is cold. And what I'm looking forward to is how State Game and me start my job.
That's what's up.
Brother Man Sewer. I'm at a 10. I'm feeling good. Some good energy going. Communicate with nobody from the circle all week. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to changing that.
We miss her.
I don't even hear the
Say your
question.
name.
Tom Breaker Turner. Good. I'm breathing. I don't know. Disunity.
What you looking forward to?
My brother Hot Tim. I'm probably about an 8. What else?
What's going on? Your worlds.
What's good?
Your
What's Rose?
Oh, well, I made it through another week. Didn't do as many shows as I was supposed to, but it is what it is. That's it?
Yep.
You ain't got no excuse now, Prophet.
Oh, dang. So close. My name is Prophet. I'm feeling about a 9. My Rose is that was my girlfriend's birthday yesterday, and I finally got her a present. Oh well, that, and I finally came up with a new costume or outfit as a guard. My Thorn, I got like a lot of apologies to make.
Come on. Okay.
I'm a Saru. I'm feeling like an 8 today. It's cold outside. And what I'm looking forward to is being more organized, get back to planning and do what I'm supposed to do. That's it.
I'm Rodney. I'm probably feeling like the 8 right now. I'm looking forward to just getting out of high school.
What's your thorn?
I don't have none.
You.
My name is Desiree. My rose is having to spend the weekend at home, and my thorn is having to go to school after tomorrow.
Sister Trina, my rose is being here. My thorn is time management, getting better at it, working at it.
Hi everybody, my name is Mike Surgeon. I'm just picking up on the flow. I think I got it. My rose is, for today I would say being here. I'm very glad to be here. And my thorn is returning phone calls, because Sister Trina asked me to send her my number again, and it took me forever to do it. So I got to do better about that. But I'm glad to be here.
So we're on chapter 16 on page 103. Rhyme space in the future of hip hop advertisement. So before we get to that, we want to look at this chart. Frequency. If y'all don't have a book, please get next to somebody that has a book. Please.
Page 103.
And the frequency chart states that the frequency illustration, frequencies are channels. There are many different frequencies that occupy our time and space. The higher the frequency, the greater the understanding of things. Frequencies are also measured in long and short wave patterns. Two or more people that think alike or similar to them being on the same frequency. What we eat and think helps determine the level of frequency that we can achieve. Now I need a participant.
All right.
Within my last eight bars. Is that all right with you? I'm sorry. Should have been you, but
Yeah.
that's all right. That's fine. How much is this going to cost?
My prices vary, but for instance, the intro and the outro of my rhyme range from 150 to 300,000. Simply because those are the two most important parts of the rhyme. Anything in the middle of the rhyme is going to run you about 80 grand. It also depends on like if it's the first or the last single off my album, or collab with another artist. The soundtrack of a hot new movie, and of course, I'm feeling what you're pushing.
What's the difference between the first and last singles?
The first is the most anticipated joint of. The first is the most anticipated joint of a new album. Since I'm the hottest player in the streets right now, the whole world's gonna be waiting for me to drop. So obviously, that's gonna run you a little more.
How many potential consumers are you expected to reach with this album?
My last banger sold about 5 million copies, and that's not including bootlegs, which is probably like another 3 million. The way I see it, every player that copied the album will share or listen to it with at least another 10 or 15 of his closest homies. So as you can see, the numbers can get crazy and rise from 8 million to between 80 to 120 million. Not to mention the radio spins, which could reach 800,000 nationwide. Numerous club spins and the underground mixed DJs keeping behind.
What about video play?
Well, the package I'm offering you includes flossing, your product, and 3 of my upcoming videos. The joints are bumped on BET, which has over 60 million viewers because of my crossover appeal, and my videos will also be played on MTV, which is international. When you add up the numbers, it's potentially around 500 million heads worldwide. I don't know how they talk like this.
Wow, those numbers are staggering. You're a very powerful young man.
More powerful than the president right now.
What do you mean?
You see, a hot MC is more in tune with the youth of America. They love, respect, and trust me to represent their point of view. So they could care less about some old white man with some old-fashioned views sitting behind some desk. I'm sorry. They could care less about some old black man with old-fashioned views sitting behind some desk talking politics, trying to budget the deficit or some foreign relations. Mommy? S-word. All they want to know is what's going on in the hood, and that's why that's what I represent. My word is law in these streets. Whatever I say, wear, drink, or drive is what you're gonna see on every other corner in urban America. Since today's youth are tomorrow's leaders, I literally play a role in the future of this country. I think that would make me just as, if not more powerful than the president, wouldn't you?
Well, when you put it like that, it's hard to disagree.
Anyway, son, my last 3 counties were happy with the results that I produced for them. And I think you'll be just as satisfied.
Oh, I'm pretty sure my employer will be very happy with the numbers that just one of your albums can produce. My only concern is we'll be able to reach middle class America in the suburbs.
Excuse me. That's not gonna be a problem, though. I mean, you see, as much as I love my peeps from the hood, they don't buy records. They either cop the bootleg version or copy it off the radio or get hit off by one of their peeps with a copy. Most of my sales come from white America. Done. It's kind of weird seeing black people who are the minority in America want to be like white people, and white people who are the majority who can afford the things I rap about are the fellas from the hood doing illegal activity and rich white kids from the burbs. So Madison Avenue is waiting for us to set the next trend.
You're smarter than most would think.
Of course. What do you think most rappers are just down to be pimped by corporate America and not cashing on their own skills and talents?
Well, I.
Don't answer that. Oh, by the way, is this probably going to be in the open market?
We're thinking of going public right after your album drops.
Cool. Just let me know after contact my broker.
You have a broker?
Well, no doubt, son. I know what time it is. I'm going to cop a couple thousand shares with your company in stock so I can cash in long term as well. So let's get back down to business. I'm plugging you in the end of my rhyme. So my first new release in 3 video shots, right?
Right.
We'll set on 350K. Is that alright?
That's fine. How would you like to get paid? Check or transfer the money into your account?
No, let's get this one on the low. I'll take straight cash if that's alright with you.
That's even better. This way, neither of us has to report it on our taxes.
You said it, not me.
So I guess I'll see you around.
Yeah, sooner than you think. I just bought a house in the Hamptons close to where you live.
Is that right? I guess that makes us neighbors. Well, I look forward to doing business with you. Hopefully, this will be start of a great relationship.
I think so. I'll holler at you later. 1. I'm sorry, who even talks like this? I can't. Can I be the rep next time?
No.
Oh.
So, what do y'all think about that whole conversation? Even if it wasn't real, it's just an example of what goes behind the scenes of doing business with music reps and stuff like that. So,
Pretty accurate.
What do y'all think?
Looking at the videos, I have to agree. I mean, somebody was talking about the Anaconda video, and I was watching that Anaconda video, and I saw about 2 or 3 different commercials in there.
Mm-hmm.
The beets, right?
Yeah.
And she used a certain type of whipped cream. You can see the label on the whipped cream that she used.
Did you see the Pepsi machine?
The who?
The Pepsi machine.
Was there a Pepsi machine in there too?
There was a Pepsi machine in the gym.
So, I mean, all those is advertisements. Whenever you see stuff like that, that means, I mean, you know, that's why if y'all notice in the videos when people be wearing sweatshirts and stuff and they be blanking it out?
Yeah.
If they're not getting paid, you supposed to blank that out.
I think another big thing to take from it too is when he said whatever he does, sets all the trends. And I'm sitting at home the other night watching the episode of Boondocks, the Gangstalicious episode where they did the homies over hoes, and you know, the granddad's wondering if Riley's gay because he wearing the skirts and stuff,
right.
you know. And then I watched the Wiz Khalifa video for We the Boys, and I was just like, dang, man, you know what I'm saying? So just so real, you know what I'm saying? He's walking around the whole video with these tights on, you know, and it's, you know, you starting to see it, you know what I'm saying? So that's to me, that's one of the biggest things to take is they are the trendsetters for what's going on, and they just as much as powerful as the president. You know, that's the words hit deep.
I like the business side of it too. You know, because it's one thing to be that powerful, but it's another thing to recognize it. Because Homeboy was laying out some nice figures. You know what I'm saying? So he made $350,000 before he even launched, which is good business. And he had a broker.
Bought some shares.
He was gonna buy some shares. You know what I'm saying? So he was doing some real planning, and he knew his demographic. He knew who was buying, who wasn't buying. He knew the business side. Now, I hope that part is a little bit more realistic because some of the things that I'm seeing in the music game, I don't think a lot of people really know how bad they're getting done. Mm-hmm. You know, so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, just like when you said, you know, can we sell for $350,000? You know, man, that to me, that's basically you get in the low end of how much you're gonna get paid, how much you're gonna get paid, and then how much they're gonna get paid. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna make millions of dollars off you while you selling it for a low amount. And you know, a lot of these MCs or these rappers in the business now, they don't understand the full business of what it takes to be in the industry. You know what I mean? Because they don't have no education about it, nor they understand. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't.
And another big example of that, I think, is Chief Keef getting dropped from his label deal. Mm-hmm. Now you talking about, you know, 10 years ago, somebody would have had the type of pull that he has amongst listeners and just people on his, like, he's got mad fans, you know, like 1 million plus, but he can't sell 1 million albums to the point where he get dropped from his deal, and now he kind of sweating because the business side of it ain't really his thing. You know?
Go ahead.
But that goes back to the whole thing when we talking about educating ourselves. No matter what you get yourself involved in, you got to learn. You got to go in depth and see what it's all about. You know, to have an understanding first, then ultimately to have the overstanding. Because if you, like you said, with settling on $350,000, it's like. He has an understanding of the business, but the rep has an overstanding. Yeah. He has this aerial view of actually what's going on. It's like, okay, I'll give you this piece of this this big old pie that I'm looking at from above.
Yeah.
I know, like, most of them famous people, they might have money, but they still in debt.
Right.
Because, like, they might look fancy and got the biggest houses, the nicest cars, but when they look at their bank account, might have a couple thousand in there, not $1 million.
And that's a lot more common than you would be. I mean, then you might be surprised how common it is. Like Homeboy just said at the end of that, I'm gonna be your neighbor. I'm gonna buy me a house in the Hamptons. A lot of people don't take into account how much it costs to maintain these big houses. You know what I'm saying? I signed a $5 million contract, but I'm living at $6 million a year. Don't make no damn sense. And that's how a lot of our, you know, because, like, you know, a lot of these rappers, I'm going to be surprised if they still able to hold on to their money because, you know, they spending a whole lot of money just to party. They dropping $50,000 at the strip club. They popping bottles. They balling out, huh? Paying for security. So by the time 10 years is up, you know what I'm saying? And then they go out and buy jewelry. I mean, think about this. You go out and you buy a piece of jewelry for $150,000. You shape it into your name or some other symbol that nobody else in the world's going to buy. And then when you try to go back and sell it, you gonna be mad because they only gonna give you a quarter of the price.
J. Cole got the song Chaining Day where he talk about that. You know, spending $100,000 on a chain, but you didn't go buy no property.
Ain't bought no property.
Now,
No.
on the flip side, Kendrick actually did the opposite. He actually bought a property for like 60,000-70,000. You know what I'm saying? Just to get that out the way. You know, which is a trend that I think more rappers should take. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, I just can't imagine having that much money and not investing in no property. I just couldn't. It's crazy. Crazy.
Anybody else? Anybody want to go next?
What to read? Obviously, this is just a fictional scenario, or is it? Are we witnessing the future of hip-hop where major corporations buy rhyme space that's the same way they would buy television space to air their ads? In fact, for less money, they would probably get a better deal and reach more people buying the 2 bars of a hot MC's rhyme than 30 seconds on a major network station, simply because hip-hop is everywhere, from magazines to fashion to video games. It has become a multi-billion-dollar business, and since hip-hop is a way of life, it never closes. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So instead of corporations spending millions on television ads that only reach a portion of their target market within the prime time hours, they can spend a fraction of that cost and hire an MC to run their ads for the duration of this album, or better yet, his career. Every time the record is played, the artist is seen in a magazine or the video is shown. Corporate America has an opportunity to get paid. Yet, it's advantageous for
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. For them to pay a rapper to covertly slip their product into the natural flow of his rhyme to make it seem like this is a product that he really uses, as compared to the traditional overt advertising method of paying a rapper to hold up a Pepsi can and say, "Feel the joy." Real hip-hoppers consumers are too smart for that, and it's even a turn off at times to see your favorite rapper pushing products we know they don't use. The hood knows they're fronting and selling us out to get paid, but what we don't realize is that the same player we thought was keeping the gutter when he was flowing about his Rolex, Motorola, 2-way pager, or his Benz was fronting and selling us out to get paid. The corporations now have a front and backdoor method of operation aimed at getting their hands on our hard-earned dollars. The backdoor method works extremely well for products that cannot be openly advertised on TV, like Cristal, Philly Blunts, and 9mm. The alcohol, tobacco, and firearm industry rely heavily on the hip-hop industry to sell their products. This is not limited to legal products. Ecstasy, crack, and marijuana are billion-dollar businesses that constantly reap the benefits of hip-hop endorsements. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all rappers are receiving money under the table to advertise these products. In fact, most of them are being pimped for free. But the fact of the matter is, whether it's paid advertisement or free advertisement, it's still advertisement, and someone is cashing in on the very words that we speak. We then blame someone else for the high level of alcoholism, cancer, drug overdoses, or death by firearms in our community, when we are the ones who allow our so-called hood representatives to endorse the very things that are killing us. The future of hip-hop advertising reached new heights with the release of Busta Rhymes' Past the Courvoisier, featuring P. Diddy. The song and video were blatant. Okay. Hip-hop commercials using 2 heavyweights, MCs, to sell an alcoholic beverage to anyone who had access to BET, MTV, a mix CD, or a radio commercial have won. A product that is being sold to, a catchy little jingle or phrase associated with the product, and 3 superstars or celebrities that endorse the product. Hard liquor is rarely sold on television or radio, due to the monitoring of the FCC and the controversy surrounding the subject. Yet, past the caveats, whatever, a product being sold. 2, a catchy little jingle and beat, courtesy of the Neptunes. And 3, 2 hip-hop superstars and Busta and P. Diddy endorsing the product, which was played on television and radio stations 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How clever was that? I'm willing to bet that the company was smiling all the way to the bank, singing "Pass the Cavassier." Will other companies that have been monitored by the FCC follow suit by using hip-hop to bypass the rules and regulations to still sell their products on television and radio? This remains to be seen, but if there's a dollar sign attached to it, don't be surprised if your favorite rappers drops a banging 4-minute and 30-second commercial disguised as a song promoting the latest alcoholic beverage or club drug like blue and yellow purple pills or D12 and M&M. It seems that it is now a requirement that every artist, whether he's at the top of the charts or not, promote and endorse product these days. Think of your favorite rapper and then ask yourself, has he done a song lately that didn't promote something other than his music? The answer to that question, in most cases, what we know. Hip-hop is the most diversified music on the planet at this time. So it would be foolish for us to underestimate the genius of an advertising guru to utilize hip-hop in ways we could have never imagined. Soon, we may see the very mic that a rapper is holding sponsored by Sprite, or rappers in videos throwing up gang signs that spell Pepsi. Certain rappers will have contracts similar to athletes where they can make more money off endorsements than the recording contract itself. Are you ready for the future of hip-hop advertising? Another way to look at the situation is this. Most of these rappers aren't being paid by the label, so if there's any way to make some extra cash, you can bet they're going to get paid. If it's all about the Benjamins, you can be bought. If you can be bought, you can be controlled. If you can be controlled, you can be manipulated into furthering someone else's cause. That's true too. I say all of this to ask, can you even trust your favorite rapper anymore to keep it real? Or is every clever punchline or witty phrase that comes out of his mouth paid for by corporate America? Take a moment and reflect on the lyrics that come out of most rappers' mouths today. They rhyme about their Rolex, Benz, Chrome 22s, Timberlands, two-way pagers, Cristal, Ecstasy, 9 milliliters, Coogee sweaters, platinum chains, and fly cribs all within a 16-bar radius. This has made the boastful rapper a dream on Madison Avenue. Gone are the days when rappers spoke from the heart and represented the voice of the people. It was their hoodly duty to bring us the news, entertain, and tell the story of our plight and struggle to survive in the inner cities. Now it's all about the Benjamins.
Versace.
Yeah.
In a sense, I understand the rapper's frustration with being pimped by corporate America. For so long wanting to turn the tables and pimp them, but at whose expense? Caught in the middle are loyal fans that are being led to slaughter by rappers serving as Pied Pampers for money-hungry advertisers, even selling us products that are detrimental to our health. While they get rich, we get sick. If rappers only knew the true power that they possess, that every word they speak helps to mold and create our reality. If they only knew that the entire world is listening to what they have to say, that they could change the game by only endorsing products that enhance our lives, or drop jewels in the rhyme flow about how the economical strength of our community, or drop jewels in the rhyme flow about how to economically strengthen our community instead of pass the Cavassier. You heard pass the dictionary? Only when this approach is taken will we be able to defend ourselves from the corporate parasites looking to suck our communities dry and keep us dependent on them for survival. The stage has been set. Either rappers represent and work for the betterment of us, or they're government agents and work for them. In a world where cash rules everything around me, cream for those that don't know, it is simple as that. So the next time your favorite rapper spits 16 bars, ask yourself, is he representing the hood or is he just representing the goods?
The entire world is listening to what they have to say.
We got to stop.
No, I'm about to make a comment on because that just stuck with me when you said that. If they only knew the entire world is listening to what they have to say, they could change the game by endorsing products that would enhance our lives. And that just goes back to that old thing where people say, people on that level say, well, it's not my responsibility. Which I've always felt like it is.
Not my responsibility. I ain't responsible for what come out my mouth.
I don't have as many fans as these dudes, but when I was 19, I said, I can't just rap about anything. It's just, it don't work like that. But, of course, many people disagree.
I'm sorry, but the last I checked, I don't think that the entire world actually composed of the United States and like 5 European countries.
What planet you on?
Hip hop is global. Hip hop is everywhere.
Usually, yeah, but like when someone actually says the entire world, they're thinking more about like the United States, and that was like the 5 countries outside of the United States, which would basically be England. Let me see, it's England, France, Spain, Russia, and China.
So who's running the world system?
United States.
That's the world. That's not the earth. Right?
The world,
No, they-
new world order.
The woe. So woe to the man.
Not woe to the man, woe to our minds. I mean, the man's just like the body in the shell, but as for the minds right there, that's exactly like what makes the man. Without the mind, you really couldn't have a man. You just have a shell.
True.
So when I think, just for myself, when I think of world, I think of the system that we're operating in.
Well, when I think of the world, I think of like everyone in there. I don't think of like just the system. The system is only there for so long before it's actually broken down. And therefore, it's like there's a new system. In truth, the system's nothing more than just like I guess you could say a ring on a finger. It's only there for so long until you take it off, and then afterwards you just want to get yourself a new system, a new ring. I think of the world as a whole because no matter what, the world will stay the same, but the environment and the system around it will change.
Then it won't be the same. I mean, you just kind of contradict yourself. You said the world will stay the same, but the system that, if one of them changed, the whole thing changed.
Let's look deeper though. As long as we live, Earth will still be Earth.
Mm-hmm. Unless we change the name.
The people will still be people. I mean, we haven't really gone that far. I mean, sure, we have cars now, we have the wheel, we have buildings with electrical lighting in it, and we have like so much potential to go more, but we don't really use that potential because we're too busy worrying about material objects and like really not wanting any change. It's a natural reaction for humans to actually be afraid of change, but the very few humans who are not afraid of change tend to actually take lead. In that point, they get like power hungry because all of a sudden like you have this entire power where you're just like start ruling people, and eventually like you have to make so many decisions to the point where you just like stop caring about the people that you represent and start caring for yourself. Therefore, causing corruption as well as like violence, drugs, war. I've seen it happen before, and I see it happen all the time. It's like a natural cycle. So when I say that the world will stay the same, but the system and everything else will change, I mean like the world will stay the world because no matter what, it's going to be called the world regardless. But the system that surrounds it, on the other hand, not so much. It's like basically saying, if I was to put a ring on my finger will stay the same, but the ring will come off eventually.
So it's a natural thing for men to be corrupted. It's a natural thing.
It's a natural thing for men to be scared.
So what if you leave the ring on there for a really long time? Is it possible for the ring to like alter the shape of the finger if it's been there for so long that it almost becomes a part of the finger, and then taking it off is such a struggle that when you do remove it, it doesn't look the same as it was before the ring was put there? What about in that case? Like, how long will it take for that finger or the world as it was before the ring was put there to kind of reshape itself into what it was before the ring?
That's why I like to call deep roots, as in the fact like it's been there for so long that you actually feel that you have ties and roots to it.
Right.
You don't really want anything to change because of the fact that when you first put the ring on the finger, like you actually spent your time molding and growing and making sure that your finger actually fit the ring. So when it finally does fit the ring, and then like your finger eventually like outgrows the ring, it's going to be like, wow, I really can't fit this no more. But yeah, like we want to keep it here. That also like is what usually causes the breakdown, because by then the ring is over there suffocating the finger, therefore also stopping the blood flow. In this case, however, it's like with politics. I mean, like it only works for so long until like the system starts changing, and then it's like now we actually have to like choke out some of our people because there's too much. I mean, I really can't take it anymore. It's basically corruption right there. Corruption is like a key factor. It's like, it's kind of hard to explain, but like, you know, like when you was younger and like you used to always like tie your hands together and like you feel that sense of relief unless you moved. It's like that. Any type of movement can actually hurt that structure, therefore causing it even more pain. But it's still that corruption right there because it's only like small fragments as opposed to like the entire finger and the ring. And eventually it will come off. All you need is like some serious grease.
Unless you gotta cut it off. Every now and then, sometimes your finger grow too much, but the only solution is to cut it off.
In that case, you're dealing with alchemy. I mean,
No, that's not alchemy.
I mean,
that's called cutting it off. You know what I'm saying? I'm not changing it from nothing. The ring done got so bad, my fingers get so bad, I got a choice. Either I got to get rid of this ring, or I got to get rid of the ring and the finger. I'm getting rid of the ring. So I take something, I put it up in there, and I break the back and tear the ring off.
oh no, in that case, that's just suicide.
That ain't suicide, because I done cut the ring off my finger before.
That's finger suicide.
No. If I left the ring on, it would be suicide. Sort of like your analogy, right now, the ring, the system that we got on the earth finger right now is choking it out, as you said. So now we got a choice of either removing that ring or allowing it to kill the finger.
But there's always that third option. That's the thing that like people don't get. They think that like they don't have to live it if like they just like take themselves away from the equation. Usually via suicide. What you described was like you just cutting off the ring. What I'm describing though is like actually putting some grease inside of the ring and then like remove it.
If the ring gets to a point, let me say again, if the ring gets to a point where I can no longer move it off, no matter how much grease I've been on. You never had a ring stuck caught on your finger? Anybody here had a ring caught on their finger where you had to cut it off?
Yeah, because I jammed my finger and it swelled up, so it was at the point where
you got to take it off. You got to cut it off.
You mean cut the ring? I thought you meant cut the finger.
No, he said cut the ring.
Cut the
to save the finger.
So to save the finger, you must cut it off.
Yeah, you got a choice. Either, like he said, either you cut the ring off to save the finger, or you leave the ring on there and let it kill the finger, and it maybe infect the whole hand.
Well, you know what? I would actually go with that option of cutting my finger off because afterwards there's that recovery process, and then like there's also that rebuilding of like how you.
But
also
what if you
wait, stop, because we live, right? You know that, right? You just said that rather than cut the damn finger off, you would cut off the finger.
The ring
off.
No, he said the finger.
Right,
I thought you said
supposed
the
to
finger.
cut the ring off like you said.
I said cut the ring off.
Yeah, he said
6 times.
You said the finger.
No, he said the ring.
You said the finger.
Okay.
I said the ring. I said, look, I said the ring.
Wait, stop. So do you mean the ring or the finger?
I mean, the
ring.
You got me confused.
Just the ring.
I ain't never talked about cutting off my finger. Never.
I mean, like, I heard you say finger, like cut off the finger.
No.
In order to save the finger, I have to cut off the ring.
Then that makes perfect sense right there. Yes, you cut off the ring. Of course you cut off the ring. That's actually what I call revolution right there.
That is revolution. That's the point I'm saying. We at a point now where we can't slide it off with grease no more. Maybe 50 years ago, we might have been able to slide it off with grease, but right now, we're going to have to cut the ring off. The ring serves no purpose. It's choking off everything. All right? Huh?
You take like a saw and
Or take some string and separate it far enough where you can get something sharp up under it and work it out. I mean, it's a whole bunch of different ways you can cut the ring off. But you'd be surprised how creative you get when you're in pain. It'll happen to you, young. Yeah, that happens to you. You gonna get very creative when it.
I don't want it to happen.
And again, it's a metaphor more than anything. I mean, literally, rings do get stuck on fingers, but like he was saying, it's a metaphor for social change.
I raise my hand for this.
For what? Who? Cutting off the finger or the ring? Oh. Hey,
Now,
where was we at? How we get on that?
I mean, I got confused like with ring and then finger and then. All right.
You're talking about people.
Basically, what I'm saying is like what you described. That's more of a radical revolution, whereas like just the Greece would have been like more of a moderate revolution. Like there still would have been a system, but like not as much of a change. With the ring, like if you talk about cutting it completely off, then that's it. That's alchemy right there. I mean, the ring was there, and afterwards you destroyed the ring, and now you actually have yourself a new ring from the old ashes that you destroyed it from.
I got an old ring, but no longer on my finger. It's on the ground. It's done. I'm done with it. I might go buy another ring. I might create another ring. You know what I'm saying? Because we gonna need some form of system, and that's why, in a sense, we had these conversations so that y'all could be thinkers. Because the next system that comes in, I might be too old. Somebody gonna have to think. Somebody got to be able to think and not fall back into, well, we got another ring, and 20 years from now, we back in the same situation. Because they're going to try to get you. Right?
It tends to happen. I mean,
yeah.
It's been. The 500 years, they have themselves like a giant empire, and then afterwards it slowly like crumbles in the years. And afterwards, a new empire rises from that. That empire goes up. It seems prosperous for a minute, and afterwards it like declines towards the years. Right now, I'm looking at the United States. The thing that we're like really worried about is like overpopulation in prisons, as well as like war, violence, and that's like going down even because of the fact like there's no more drive for us. I mean, 50 years ago there was a drive right there to like keep people segregated or to like make them equal. And since there's no longer a drive for us, like there's no point right there because everything is supposedly okay on the surface. People tend to look at one piece of the picture as opposed to like the entire picture. And then the people who usually do look at the entire picture, they have two choices. They can either like try to change it, or they can just go along with it and let the other people suffer.
What we get?
You
said what?
Time to move on.
What time?
It's 4, it's only 4.
You gonna look?
Freddie, you want to do it? Want to introduce the brother?
You can. Go ahead.
Okay. I think it's best that you do it because
I see Bishop be good.
Okay.
Good talk, bro.
Well, Mike Surgeon, right? Is a brother that I met when Dr. James Smalls came in town. And I thought it was phenomenal and very important for him to come and speak out to you guys today. I think, as I've expressed before, there are so many things that we can do, and we just don't know what we can do. So, Brother Mike Surgeon, I'll certainly let him talk more about what he does, but what excited me was his program. He has a recycling program. And I don't know, how many of you guys recycle? How many of you have been paying attention to the products that we buy and how they say recycled materials? That's a whole industry, and I haven't seen any brown faces, Africans, doing that. And so Brother Mike Surgeon has a company that he has started where he is recycling. So I thought it would be awesome to have him come out and talk to you about about his company as well as what he does. And I found out a whole bunch of other things about him as well that I'll let him explain.
What's up, everybody?
Peace.
How y'all doing? There's more people in the room than these two guys. How y'all doing?
Good.
All right, good, because I'm going to be loud, so y'all got to be loud. All right? Let's see. Should I leave this open, close it?
Oh, yeah, whatever you want to do.
Give me a minute.
Okay. All right. real quick introduction, and then I got just a little bit to present, and then we're just going to chop it up. We're going to talk. My parents named me Jonathan Michael Cross. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. Okay, I'm the oldest of 6. There are 6 males in my family. My youngest brother is now 24. I'm 36. Okay, we all have biblical names. I'm a PK. I was raised like in the church. I went to church all the time. Whenever the church was open, we were usually there with my brothers and my mom and my dad, right? So I got the Bible and all those lessons really young. Sometimes I get really bored. I feel like going to sleep. I didn't want to pay attention. But now that I'm older, I'm really thankful for that foundation because it helped me understand right and wrong. It helped me understand that there are positive energies and positive forces in the universe, and there are negative energies and forces in the universe, and we can be influenced by either one of those energies, and it really comes down to the choices that we make as to which direction that we go, because we have the option to go either way. If we've chosen a negative path, that's a good thing to remember, because we can always come back and choose the positive. And a lot of times when you have made some mistakes in life, it makes you appreciate the positive even more because you have something to compare it to. Now, that's not to say that you have to do bad things to appreciate good. It's just to say that if you have experienced any bad in your life, that doesn't have to be a permanent reality for you, that there's another option, right? So, as Sister Trina introduced me and said that my name is Mike Surgeon, that is very correct because I'm an artist and I'm a musician. And like I said, my given name is Jonathan Michael Cross. So when I was choosing my artist name, I said, I want something that sort of draws on the name that I was given, but then also speaks to the uniqueness of my purpose and what I'm designed to do as a writer, right? So I took my middle name, which is Michael, and I shortened it up and just used Mike, like Mike Surgeon. Mike Surgeon, that's me. Mike Jones, I was thinking about the artist that came out a few years ago. He was talking about his name, rapping his phone number, right, when he was doing his mixtape. So Mike Jones is a big one. Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, all these Mikes, right? But Jonathan means given of the Lord, and Michael means he who was like God, right? So that's a powerful name. And so I said, well, I'll take that, he who is like God, and shorten it up and call it Mike. And then it can also be what they call a double entendre. It can have a double meaning, right? Like my name, Michael, and then Mike, like the microphone, M-I-C, right? And then surgeon, like a doctor. And surgeons are ones who go in the body to heal the body, right? Sometimes they have to cut you a little bit to make it better. But that is the purpose and the role of a surgeon, is to heal, right? So I want to use words. I want to use lyrics and rhymes to rhythms, to music, to help heal and to help correct some of the things that have been done on the microphone to do our people harm, spiritually and psychologically, like we're talking about in this book here, Hip Hop Decoded. That's what the whole book is about, right? How the spoken word and the beat has been used against our people as opposed to something to heal our people and enrich our lives. The enemy is very sophisticated, right? They look and they study us and they say, how can we use their strengths against them and make them weaknesses? You know what I'm saying? Like the brother said in the book, a lot of people say crime doesn't pay, but it does. A lot of people get paid. We don't get paid. We get victimized. We get early graves and prison numbers and stuff like that. This brother here, I got to give him a big shout out because I've known him ever since I was a young guy. He was one of the ones that I saw. He was in college and doing big things when I was like, 10, 11, 12 years old. I used to no, but look, we all right there together. You know what I'm saying? But for real, like I saw him at Martin McKinley in my high school when I started high school. All of that. How Tim has been dedicated. He's been around. He's given his whole life to making our lives better. You know what I'm saying? And helping young brothers and sisters realize their true potential. So we need to give him a hand. You know what I'm saying? Because we're always celebrating, not us necessarily, but our people. We're socialized and we get in a habit of celebrating the wrong people. And the people that we really should celebrate a lot of times are right in our midst. They're right around us in our neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying, close by. And we should celebrate them whenever we get an opportunity to. So Mike Surgeon is my artist name. I've given you a little bit of an idea for why I chose that name. Now let me give you a little bit of an example of what I do with that name. And then maybe when this is all over, I'll give you guys some like links to YouTube and different things. You can hear some things put to music. But everything I'm going to do right now is kind of like off the top of my head and a cappella. Although it's written, you know, I'm going to just go from memory, right, with no music.
Oh, I was going to ask, like, can we give you a beat? But okay.
Oh, no, it's cool. It's cool. So I'm going to start with one that might be familiar to you, just to give you a sense of the chronology of the art form of like poetry or spoken word. How many have heard of the Harlem Renaissance? Harlem Renaissance, right? A lot of great artists from a lot of different genres, photographers and sculptors, painters, poets, novelists, all kind of different artists contributed to this great period of writing in the 1930s and 1940s primarily, of black creative expression at a time when black life, like even today, was being taken for granted, right? These artists were producing all these wonderful works of art and making the world really have to question many of the assumptions that they had made about our people, saying that we were less than human and all that. Well, how could these less than human people produce all this spectacular artwork, right? That was a contradiction that this society could not resolve, and so changes had to be made based on that. And then that was really like a major precursor that led after World War II, especially to the Civil Rights Movement. And a lot of the legislation that changed policy that made life a little bit more bearable and a little bit more livable for us as African people, you know, in the United States. So I'm going to recite a poem from the Harlem Renaissance by a poet named Langston Hughes. It goes like this. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? This piece is called Intrinsically Supreme. These are pieces that I've done. This one's called Intrinsically Supreme. It goes like this. Intrinsically supreme is the beam that illuminates my essence. Nestled in the presence of the God of creation, I embark on a moment of quiet contemplation, the duration of which surpasses the reaches of time, making millennia mere blinks on the eye of this obscure galaxy called the Milky Way. Someday, my people will be free to realize the true nature of their destiny, that intrinsic supremacy that emanates from the Creator itself, the one who defies definition, self-imposed submission to a force that gives ultimate freedom and life, an end to the strife. No more poverty, insanity, or slavery for me and mine. That's the subject of this rhyme. Why? Because it's time. It's time. The world did not end in 2000. On the contrary, the world just began in 2000. Up on that holy mountain called Sinai, I heard the voice of the Most High saying that we've been chosen to lead, not to bleed. To fly on wings of eagles, not to cry or to die like tragic heroes. Who am I? A prophet just like you. We all royalty, I thought you knew. The voice said, step into the light of your own inheritance, your predestined birthright, meaning you had it all along. Like a sweet song within the keys of a piano never played, we must release the God within us so that the world might be saved. We, you and me, we're that last becoming first, inhabitants of a new earth, not based on money, degrees of separation, or wars, but we must humble ourselves and pray so that we are not led astray, only to retrace the steps of ancestors fallen from grace. In outer space, I fix my gaze, amazed at the wonders painted in the sky on that chilly autumn's night. My third eyesight is what compels me to write. I said my third eyesight is what compels me to write. All right. This one here is called We Are Here. It goes like this. We are here, where we have always been, in a vat of pork barrel killing, spending, and rending of humane sensibilities. And our abilities have not been appreciated, facilitated, or stimulated, but we have waited patiently for a universal place in the sun. Our rehearsal has been slavery, inhumanity, and ice-cold barbarity. And yet the quality of our heart's condition has never appeared more beautiful, youthful, marvelous. That is, unless one looks into our eyes and espies the easy focus with which we recognize clearly the dawning of an endless new day that this time will last forever. We are here without fear of incarceration, persecution, or segregation in any of its forms, adorned with love and happiness, green, flourishing like Al in all of his glory,
singing, smiling, sponsoring the entirety of the human family with love, 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 and more love until the only currency left to spend is love. We are here to teach haters why hate is passé. Today, it's our turn, and we all have pens. So let us write a Renaissance story of passionate power. The second is certain, the minute meaningful, the hour is now. We, you and me, we people who are darker than blue may feel we, all of humanity, are here. Y'all give yourselves a hand for being here. All right, so I'm a spoken word artist, a poet. I kind of call myself a spoken word philosopher because I like to read books. My dad got me and my brothers in a good habit of reading. And so what I try to do is I try to take the ideas and the inspiration that I get from the books that I read and put them into like songs and poems, things that are a little bit more fun to listen to, may not take quite as long to absorb as it might to sit down and read a book. You could listen to some good music or read some poetry and, you know, get some inspiration. Right, so I heard somebody saying, I can't remember if it was Sister Trina or someone else, talking about the brother who wrote the book, The Black Dot, showing us where this griot tradition or this spoken word tradition actually came from, right? That it came from our people, came from our ancestors, and that it was something that was used to share information, to spread messages, to educate our people audibly by word and by listening. People say that we didn't have writing. We did have writing. We had a lot of different complex writing systems in different parts of Africa, but we shouldn't underestimate the power of the spoken word, because people study, like people go to college to memorize history and hold it in their head. And then when there was a special event, or maybe the chief or one of the elders wanted the young people to learn something about history, they would bring out one of the griots and say, start talking about history from this period of time and then maybe go to this period of time. And they could go right off the top of their head like we do with rap lyrics, with poetry and different things like that. But there was honor and integrity to that system. That's the difference between that system and the system that we're under now, specifically with the music industry, is, like we're reading in the book, there's not really that spiritual integrity and that honor attached to the spoken word, right? So now we don't have a lot of respect for the spoken word like we had when the griot system and when the laws of our ancestors were what like controlled the whole world, because you couldn't say it was like this 200 years ago. If it really wasn't like that, there would be consequences. But now, you can say anything on a song for the most part. If they will pay someone to say it, and it will get recorded, it'll get put down, and it'll get publicized and put out there. And the unfortunate thing about it is, unless you know somebody like Hatim, or like Sister Trina, or some other people who can help, clarify some of the misconceptions that are out there, we can walk away with a distorted view of the past and the present. And then what are we going to do based on that? We're going to take that misconception, apply it to our lives, and then it's going to affect our future in an adverse or unproductive kind of way, right? So that's what I do with this spoken word stuff. I bought a few books because over the years of all of my possessions, the things that I value most are my books. I have hundreds of books, right? Like, not knocking any of my sneakerheads or anything like that, but a lot of people have like closets and rooms full of like shoe boxes and things like that, right? So in my room and in the basement, all you will find is all these boxes of books. So I bought some of my oldest books, and I wanted to just pass them around and let you guys see them. This one will never get read again because this is an original first printing of the autobiography of Malcolm X. So it's really fragile, and the pages are starting to kind of crumble a little bit. But yeah, no, you can keep on passing. Y'all just pass them around, be really gentle. But I wanted to bring them because you guys are special, and I wanted to show y'all some stuff that is really connected to some of the history that you learn about. That's an original copy of Black Power by Stokely Carmichael. That was published in 1967. And if you look at some of the prices on these books, $1.95. You could buy that book new back in the day. Same with the autobiography of Malcolm X. This book here, this is actually a study that was commissioned by the federal government.
What was that bill that did that?
Daniel Patrick Moynihan.
There you go.
Yeah, he was a senator from the state of New York. Actually, he was Hillary Clinton's mentor. And he led this study. This is the first formal study of quote-unquote Negroes or African Americans. Now, I acquired this when I was doing an intensive research program. I was participating in an intensive research program up in Salem, Massachusetts. They were having a book sale at the, I'll bring it back your way. They were having a book sale at the library on campus at Salem State College, right? This was published in March of 1965. You'll find this in a lot of literature, a lot of
They just
scholars.
celebrated this summer.
Yeah, who write on sociology and stuff. That's a landmark study that was done. Actually, the results of that study is how a lot of our welfare policies got implemented, which really haven't been good for our community, right? But that's why it's very important to understand the etymology or the history of a lot of these changes that happen, so we understand it's by design. It was a plan that was implemented. This is not a mistake. It didn't just happen this way. And we're not going to just change it on no whim either. It's going to have to be a plan and a systematic approach that benefits us that's going to change some of these things or really eradicate a lot of these things so that we can have some better options. This book was originally published in 1839, but it was republished in 1969. But this book is called A View of the Action of the Federal Government in Behalf of Slavery by this guy named William J., right? So this is documentation that he wrote back in 1839 about the federal government's role in perpetuating slavery and the slave trade. You know what I mean? We got that from a library in Enterprise, Alabama. They were going to throw that book away, and it came to us, and we were able to save it. You know, so that goes to show you too. Some people really either they don't know what they're looking at when they look at some of these books that they about to throw out, or they in fact do know what they're looking at when they about to throw away some of these books. And if we don't understand that this knowledge, we got to save this knowledge, man, because a lot of our ancestors, a lot of our aunties and uncles and parents and grandparents sacrificed a lot during these times. And we can't let this knowledge die so that when our kids grow up and we have kids and grandkids, we can let them know, you know what I'm saying, what it was like. And we have the facts right here in front to show. It's not just stuff that we're making up off the top of our heads. So, you know, when we do the poetry and we do the music, a lot of this information, whether it's directly stated or it's implied, we weave it into the artwork. We weave it into the music, into the poetry, because word is sound, sound is energy, and your brain is like it's the ultimate computer. It's the best computer in the world that the Creator made, is your brain, right? And there's a psychologist. Do these things work?
Yeah.
You heard of him? Yeah, he had a lot of concepts. Some of them are a little more wacky. That's a good example. It's easy to understand about how the brain and how the mind works. See, I've never used one of these before.
You just give me one in a second. Give me a second.
Okay.
Don't you got a crystal thing or something like that?
Yeah, be real gentle with the pages, because those books, the ones in the middle are like almost 50 years old. Those that you guys have, they're like almost 50 years old.
Oh, let's go. Those one. Oh, you already saw it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. No, it's cool. It's cool. I can do it on a piece of paper, just as well. Let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. The more that you understand about how the mind works, the more you can maximize the potential of your mind, and also the more that you can protect your mind from being damaged because you understand that sometimes it's working, really all the time it's working when you think it's not working. So let's just say, pretend, with my little messy artwork, and I have some brothers that are really great artists. They'd be laughing at me right now if they saw me over here trying to draw. It's going away. Okay, this is a very simple concept called the iceberg theory. Iceberg theory. And Sigmund Freud came up with this. For Europeans, he came up with this.
You said the iceberg theory?
Iceberg theory.
Kind of collaborated.
All right. So basically, we're gonna pretend like this triangle right here is a big iceberg out in the middle of the ocean, right? Now, how many people have heard of the Titanic? The ship, the Titanic. What happened to the Titanic? It sunk, right? It was, at the time, it was like the biggest passenger ship in the world, and they said it was unsinkable. It couldn't be sunk. But what happened? Right? And why did it sink? What happened to it?
The iceberg.
Hit an iceberg, right? So what part of the iceberg did it hit?
Small 10%.
It hit, well, they saw this part, but what it actually hit, what it actually ran on that tore the underneath and the side of the boat was this part that they couldn't see that was beneath the surface. Because about 90% of an iceberg is submerged beneath the surface of the water, and only 10% of it sticks up above the surface. So even though you see this, you might stop here. You might stop here, but this iceberg, they don't have straight lines like this. It might be jagged under there, right? So you might actually hit the iceberg right here before you even get all the way to here. So Freud took this concept of the iceberg and he applied it to the mind, because through his studies he realized that the subconscious mind was like the 90% of the iceberg that was submerged beneath the surface of the water, and only 10% of the conscious mind is what we're actively, consciously aware of, right? So there are aspects of your cognition or your mental apparatus or structure that is taking in information at a level that your conscious mind is not taking in. Your subconscious mind is really the black dot. He's talking about all that melanin and stuff like that, because as African people, you and I receive and transmit energy at like a much higher level and much higher frequency levels, right? Which are correlated to the potential for higher levels of consciousness. You can reason at a higher level, right? But if you know that and I know that, who else knows that? The enemy knows that. So what would be the objective if I know that this brother here or this sister or this sister or this brother over here can think and can transmit information at a high level, sometimes not even, or most times, not even using his conscious mind or her conscious mind? What would be the agenda at that point then?
To attack that.
To block that, shut that down.
Or to make it work for me.
Or make it work for me, right? And if I can't make it work for me, then do what?
Destroy it.
Kill it. Because if it's not working for me and I'm not getting paid off of it, and it could potentially harm me if it chooses to operate on its own consciousness, then it becomes a threat that I have to eliminate, right? If I'm thinking like that, right? So the problem that we have now is that there aren't enough Europeans, really never have been enough Europeans to eliminate us on their own, even with their technology. There's not enough of them for them to do it themselves. So they have to find creative ways to recruit us to do it to each other. See what I'm saying? And that's really what we've been living under for the past 40 years in a major way, what they call black on black crime, school to prison pipeline, prison industrial complex, war on drugs, all these kind of things. Like, I came of age, that's really all they were talking about. That we grew up in programs programs trying to keep us out the street, trying to keep us out of gangs, trying to keep. I'm like, how did we go from the civil rights movement to, you know, trying to keep every young black guy or young black girl from being a gangbanger or going to jail or being violent or this or that? But it's because they realized after these laws changed and they saw that black people were determined to be self-determined, whoa, we got to do something about this. Like Bob Marley said, kill them before they grow. You hear that? Kill them before they grow. And there's another school of thought that basically says that the way white supremacy operates, the harm that is done to us is not even their primary objective. It's a means to an end. So this is how psychopathic the enemy is. A psychopath, it's not that they don't know the difference between right or wrong. They don't care. That's the definition. Racism and white supremacy. Read a real skinny, little, small, powerful book called The Psychopathic Racial Personality by Bobby E. Wright. He was a psychologist that lived and worked in Chicago. He died really young. Some people say they think they might have taken him out too. See what I'm saying? Because of the things that he was writing about and the things that he was doing. But that's one of my responsibilities as a writer and a young historian, is to introduce these people to the younger generation so that you will know their names, because we will always be immortal as long as the names of our great ones and our ancestors are spoken. As long as we speak the names of our ancestors, the ones in your family, the ones who have helped our people, they'll never die. They'll always be immortal, because as long as they're in our memory, they can't be forgotten. They can't be erased, right? Reminding people who do know how important our cultural identity is as people of African descent. And I'm going to read you a little short little thing out of this book on cultural identity by Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop. Sheikh Anta Diop was from Senegal, West Africa, and he's considered to be one of our most modern examples of Imhotep. Imhotep from the Nile Valley, who was a multi-genius. He was a physician, lawyer, and architect. I mean, he mastered all of these complex sciences and studies, and he could do them all at a high level. With this guy, Sheikh Anta Diop, he could do the same thing. And all of us have that same potential in us, because we have the same creator, and we come from the same continent of Africa. We have the same ancestral memory and bloodline running through us, right? Like, I found out recently that on my grandfather's side, my mother's father, on his side, there are Native Americans in our family who fought on the same side as Nat Turner during the Nat Turner slave revolt, helped Nat Turner and the slaves, right? Then, when they captured the Native Americans, they tried to get the African slaves to testify in court against the Native Americans, but even their white law said that slaves couldn't testify against free people, and Native Americans or Indians were kind of in that free category, right? According to the law of Virginia. So I say that because, again, if we call these people's names, if we speak these things, we bring them back. We breathe life back into them. And they're not dead anymore. See what I'm saying? Got another uncle named Vernon Damer down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He got in a firefight with the Ku Klux Klan on the night of January 15th, 1966. He ended up dying from his injuries because they firebombed his house. So he was breathing in smoke and burned his body up real bad with flames. But he got his wife and his kids out the back of the house. They hid in the barn, because he was registering black people to vote, organizing, doing a lot of things they didn't want black people to do back then. A lot of people don't want us to do it now, right? So we're still dealing with some of these same laws, voter suppression, all these things. But he fought them. He had shotguns and rifles lined up at windows in the front of his house. So when he run out of ammunition in one, he just run to the other window, start shooting from that window. So some of the Klan members, they said they thought they were fighting 3 or 4 guys. They were only fighting one guy who had planned in advance, because he knew that they weren't happy and they were going to come. out about it. I was like, wow, that's why I got such a temper when it comes to like racism and white supremacy. That's why I can't just, go along and get along and be happy, just being a politician or doing this I gotta like roll up my sleeves and be an organizer and do all these things that you don't get a lot of money for, a lot of this or a lot of that, but it's important work. So once I started to find out a little bit more about my family and my background, and that I had some civil rights workers in my family history and some people back in the 1800s who participated in slave revolts and this and that, that let me know that I was right where I was supposed to be, doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing, right? We're not all designed to be basketball players or football players or dancers or singers or something like that. But because we come from such a great people, there's a great person in your family history, on your mama's side, on your daddy's side, that you can find out about. You'll feel it before you know their name. You'll feel it before you know their name. But once you start feeling, why do I like to cook? Why do I get so much satisfaction out of seeing people happy because they're eating my food or doing this or doing that? Best believe there's probably somebody back in your family line somewhere who was a master chef or a master teacher or something like that, right? So it's just, then when you find that out, then what you have to do is surround yourself with other young people like you guys are doing, okay? So that you can engage in something that I learned as a young person, positive peer pressure. Because a lot of times we think peer pressure is only negative. Somebody, influence you to do something bad or have premarital sex or do this or do that, right? But peer pressure can be used another way. Peer pressure can be used to inspire you to stay focused. You know what I mean? So when you decide that you don't want to go the stereotypical route, you might be like me, you might not be quite tall enough to just dunk with ease, right? So you got to find another way. You'll find some other young people who are constructive, who are positive, who can reinforce your values, who can reciprocate the type of life that you want to have because they're pursuing something similar in their life, right? And then, you guys are in the same space in the same time, as far as school and whatnot. And then you develop that as a habit. And then when you move to another school or another neighborhood, or you go into college or whatever, you've already developed that habit of surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So then your antenna, your eyes are already tuned, your spiritual eyes are already tuned to like, who are the conscious people, who are the people who are focused, where I am now. And then you go seek that out instead of like the negativity. See what I'm saying? Temptation's always going to be there. It's a part of life. Temptation is just like a cloudy day. It's going to come. You know what I'm saying? Question is, you got an umbrella. You got a raincoat. You know what I'm saying? Do you have the type of personality that keeps you happy on the inside even though you might get wet on the outside? So you don't let the circumstance or how you look define your perception of yourself. Somebody, oh, look at that. Look, you're all wet and that. Yeah. But I'm getting where I'm going. See what I'm saying? So all I'm supposed to do, I feel like, is just remind you guys of everything you already know. And let you know that there's nothing wrong with you for being different. There's nothing wrong with you for being brilliant or intelligent. There's nothing wrong with you when you decide to activate that brilliance or that intelligence. See what I'm saying? Because when you activate it, that means you're serious about fulfilling your purpose. That means you're serious about being and doing what you were designed to do, right? I would question LeBron James or anybody who's really good at basketball for running down the court on the fast break, getting close to the rim, jumping, stopping. Like, man, what are you doing? Dunk the ball. So whatever your purpose is, go for it all the way, right? This dictionary was given to me. It's a dictionary. It's been through hell and back. I got black tape holding it together. I had to squirt glue down in the binding to hold it on, you know what I'm saying? And then a few years ago, I was at a rally, and there were some white students who were anti-racist action. They were like about dismantling white supremacy. And they were passing out these free Mumia stickers, Mumia Abu Jamal. And so I put it on my dictionary, covered it all in black tape, to symbolize our struggle and our people, because black is beautiful to me. It's beautiful to y'all too, right? It ain't just me, I know, right? So, okay, and then the only part that I left sticking out from the original blue background was this, the American heritage. It says dictionary and stuff under that. But I wanted to remind myself every time that I open this dictionary to look up a word, what America's agenda was or is. And it is to incarcerate us. It is to keep us, like I say in one of my songs, keep us poor, sick, and dumb. Right? And every time that I open this dictionary to look up a word, I'm engaging in an act of revolution. I'm engaging in an act of empowerment, because I'm saying that I'm not down with this agenda every time I open this up, because I'm arming myself with more knowledge, right? Even though they got him locked up, they cannot keep him down because he is too brilliant. He's impacted more people in prison than he may have if he had never been put in prison in the first place. And that goes to show also how ridiculous it is to try to suppress the truth. Because every time you try to suppress the truth, all you do is make it grow bigger, exponentially, like way bigger. You know what I mean? So
he just recently did a commencement speech. That's when you graduate from college, from his life sentence. They converted it. He was on death row at first. And I think, 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, they commuted it to life imprisonment.
They commuted his death sentence to a life imprisonment. But that was strategic because they're trying to stop him from being able to speak out. So if they put you on death row, there's certain rights that you can have. And one of the rights was he would do commentary on things that are happening out here. So he was covering the election and all types of things that are going on from death row. And so in order to shut this man's voice down, they commuted his death sentence. Y'all know how they like to kill us? They commuted his death sentence to a life sentence to stop him from broadcasting his voice, his thoughts from outside the prison.
He's written many books, and I need to get more of his books, but one of his books that I have is a book called Live from Death Row. And when I read that book, how old are you? 19. I was close to your age when I read it. I might have been a couple years older. But that book impacted me so much, man, that I think I skipped a party that night just to sit there and read the book. And like I finished it in like a day and a half. It was like one of the quickest books I ever read. Not because I'm a fast reader, because this guy is such an engaging writer. And he had me focused, you know what I mean? I couldn't put it down until I was done. It's called Live from Death Row. It's a really good book. But this dictionary here, the inscription in here, one of the ladies who ran this program, the I Know I Can Start Early program, she said, Jonathan Cross, best wishes for a bright future. I Know I Can, summer 1992. So I've had this book, this dictionary since 1992. And
22 years.
Yeah, time. Now you telling on how old I am. You can flip through there and just see some of the things in there, the highlights on different pages.
Did you read the quote from the book? Did I miss it?
What quote? Oh, yeah, I'm going to. Thank you, Tim, for reminding me. Because I'm scatterbrained, man. I forget. I'm trying to get so much in here in a short amount of time for you guys about cultural identity. Yeah, it's on 211. Let me read this real quick. Because this is what it's all about right This is Sheikh Anta Diop talking about cultural identity. He says this. He says, for every individual, his or her own cultural identity is a function of that of his or her people. Consequently, one must define the cultural identity of a people. This means, to a great extent, one must analyze the components of the collective personality. We know that 3 factors contribute to its formation: an historical factor, a linguistic factor, and a psychological factor. Every attempt to reinforce or to modify the cultural personality must consist of carefully studying the appropriate mode of action on these 3 factors. Perfect cultural identity corresponds to the full simultaneous presence of these 3 factors in the individual. So in a simple way, what he's saying is that the thing that makes us all connected all over the world as people of African descent are 3 primary things. what we have in common historically, what we have in common linguistically, and what we have in common psychologically. And he says that it basically flows in that order, that our linguistic, what we have in common linguistically, or how we communicate, is based on a shared history. And that shared history and that shared language causes us to have a similar mindset. Doesn't mean we think exactly alike, but it just means that we're predisposed to seeing the world from a similar perspective, based on, the language that we speak and the history that we share, right? And even if we are not consciously aware of that history, it still speaks through our DNA, through our genetic memory. The metaphysicians call it the Akashic record. You know what I'm saying? And when you start to learn how to, some people say zone out, really tune in and listen and see, not with your physical eyes, with your spiritual eye, that's when you start to pick up certain things. You're like, wow, am I tripping? You know when you're tripping, and you know when God's trying to tell you something. You know what I'm saying? And God is real. God ain't no spook. God is, if you believe in God, God is in you, outside of you. God permeates everything. God is a consciousness. God is an energy. The Bible says God is a spirit, and those who worship God must worship God in spirit and in truth. So that's my definition of God. When anybody says a name for God, I respect their name for God, but I understand what they're saying, what they mean when they say that name, and I don't get offended if they use a different name than I use, because I know they're basically describing this idea of spirit and truth. Wherever you see spirit, wherever you see truth that's pure, you're dealing with some God energy. See what I'm saying? So, this thing about cultural identity, the history, the language, and the thought process are very important. And just put it in the back of your mind when you deal with our brothers and sisters. When you see somebody your age, older than you, maybe even younger than you, tripping and acting wild, and they might be a black person, a person of African descent, and whether they're a family member or somebody just in the neighborhood, and it might be kind of embarrassing. You might see somebody drunk. Say, wow, that brother, that sister must lack cultural identity. They must not know the history. They must not comprehend, psychologically the impact of what has happened, or the continuing threat that our people, I'm gonna get to you, that our people exist under. And so maybe they're resorting to some other things. It doesn't mean that we make excuses, but it means that we see behavior sometimes as more symptomatic. It's a symptom of a larger problem. We got to get to the root causes of things, right? And I'm going to wrap it up here in a minute, but I want to get to this brother right here. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's this 6-year-old that lives right around the corner from me, and he be cussing everybody out as well as smoking and doing all this other stuff. So how can I actually show him a better path as opposed to the path that he's already on at the age of 6?
That's complicated because he is so young, and that means he has parents and other people who are responsible for him, right? So I guess the best thing that we can do when people are in other families or other households or situations where they're not accountable to us, or we may not be responsible for them to the extent that maybe even we may like or could be better for that kid. I mean, there are a lot of kids who are in homes that aren't that great, right? So I guess the only thing that we can do in those type of situations is try to speak constructive words to him whenever we get an opportunity, just in passing. Because whether it's a kid or even an adult that's really far out, you got to plant little seeds, because their consciousness is not to a point where they have a tolerance or an appreciation for the longer type of conversation. So they will shut down and they'll get defensive, or they might try to make jokes, at you or at me for caring about them, to want to speak the truth or keep it real with them, right? So we got to find little short ways of displaying compassion, showing love, trying to model positivity, and to show this young dude what it's like to engage in respect, right? So really, to answer your question, and maybe this might not be the best answer, but it's how you carry yourself. Just focus. Yeah. Just try to focus on. Look. Try to focus on how you carry yourself and what your thoughts are, and what your energy is like when you're around him. Because sometimes even a little guy like that, he might seem like he's completely off the hook. He's not paying attention to anything, but he is. Sometimes, man, when little kids seem like they're paying the least attention, that's when they're paying the most attention. And they have subconscious minds just like we all have subconscious minds, right? And your subconscious mind is 90% of your whole cognitive framework. So that 90% of his subconsciousness can be absorbing some lessons that consciously you might be like, oh, he's not even paying attention. But subconsciously, you might be absorbing a lot of that positivity. So just focus. We got to focus. And I'm saying this to myself, too. I got to focus on my energy a lot, man. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I might want to do A, but A is not the right thing to do. So I got to go further into the alphabet. I can't even do B or C. I got to go further down. But that creativity, that kuumba of thinking outside the box, doing it different than I may want to do it, might actually be what's needed to correct the situation. Some situations take longer to be corrected than others. Some situations cannot be corrected, unfortunately. Sometimes a ring been on the finger too long. You know what I'm saying? Like going back to your example. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of different ways that you could approach that.
I have like two questions. Like when I was in science class, like a doctor, I forgot where he came from, like a scientist, he was telling us that like we use 10% of our minds, but he said, but when we use art, like poetry or drawing something, use 100%. And like when you talk about like our family, like history and stuff, like me and my cousin was like on Ancestry.com on her side of family. We went put their mother name, their grandparents, then their grandparents for that, and then it popped up that it said bloodline to like Frederick Douglass and stuff.
Wow.
And other stuff.
See? Wow. Yeah. And I guarantee you, if we Scripture says, and I can't help but refer to Scripture sometimes, like I said, because it's just so much a part of me, right? I'm not stuck in it, but it's still a part of my foundation. So it talks about this idea of like seeking, and then you'll find. You know what I mean? You seek out some BS, you're gonna find it, right? You look for a problem, you'll find it, right? But same thing with good, same thing with truth, same thing with knowledge of self. Now that's a good segue for me to talk a little bit about the recycling in my business, right? Because when I went to college, I majored in political science because I was interested in history. I loved ideas and words, so I got into philosophy, and I liked economics. So I said, I need to find, matter of fact, the school that I was at after high school is this college in Granville, Ohio called Denison University, right? They have this major called PPE, and it's a combination of political science, philosophy, and economics. Well, I transferred from Denison. The college I transferred to did not have that as a major, so I had to pick a different major. So I chose political science.
Get your shoes on.
And, but I knew that I didn't want to be a politician. Because when I was in high school, my high school was Lyndon McKinley. And my junior year of high school, I went to Washington, D.C. for this National Young Leaders Conference, right? And we stayed in this really nice part of, I think it was Maryland, Chevy Chase, right outside of D.C. All these big mansions, I mean, where politicians and judges and all these wealthy 4-H center in Chevy Chase where we were staying, kind of like dorms, and we eat our breakfast there. Then we drive into D.C. on buses, and we go through these wealthy neighborhoods. Then I would see, like, outside of government buildings on the sidewalk, and this was like in February, so it's still really cold outside. See these guys, most of them black men, and then some people would tell us that a lot of these black men that we would see laying on the street who were homeless, they were actually like veterans from the war. A lot of them were Vietnam veterans and things like that. I would see these veterans like laying on these open vents for warmth, right, in the wintertime, because under the sidewalk where they have the subway systems and the heating ducts for the buildings, these open vents, they would release steam. So these guys would lay on these open vents so that they wouldn't freeze to death. So I'm 17 years old, and I'm like, seeing this, I'm from Lyndon McKinley. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why in the world are there homeless guys sleeping on the sidewalk right outside of government buildings? That just in the nation's capital, no less, right? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, if there's one place in America, one city in America where there should not be homelessness, in my mind, as a 17-year-old, it was the nation's capital. Like, this should be the most immaculate, clean example of what they were trying to do in Columbus and Cleveland and Cincinnati, like everywhere else, right? But no. So I see that. I see a few other things like that, and I said, man, you know, because I was already hearing at that age and even younger this whole idea of working from the inside, you know, as an option, and it is an option. I don't really promote that as an option. I'll be honest with you. I don't promote it because I think sometimes going inside, there's a lot. Inside is warm. It's a lot of good food on the inside. You know what I'm saying? A lot of fancy titles and things like that. And sometimes it's easy once you get in there to forget why you went in there in the first place. And you end up spending the rest of your life on the inside. You never come back outside to see how the people are doing that you left to go inside to make all these changes, right? And unfortunately, I saw more people going on the inside and staying and forgetting about the people on the outside than I saw people going on the inside and remembering the people on the outside, or better yet, saying, hey, y'all, come on in with me. You see what I'm saying? They like being the only ones on the inside, a lot of them. So I didn't want to participate in that. So I said, well, look, man, like, how can I take my interest in philosophy and African history and political science, economics? See, because the way the European has done this political thing is very, very twisted. I'm not going to get all into that. But governance, look at George G.M. James's book, Stolen Legacy. It's one of the 6 original aspects of the mystery schools. So there were 6 categories of the mystery schools. Governance was one of them, or government, but not politics like in the Western concept. See what I'm saying? So that's another thing that white supremacy has done, is it has taught us to resent or hate or look down on things that are part of universal law, that are necessary to have civilization and high culture, like governance or government. We need that. We don't need white supremacy, but we need structure and order, and we've got to have, you know, ways to organize the public when we're trying to do public works projects, whether it's building a dam or a new school or this or that. You know, they got us thinking that education is white. You know what I'm saying? Would you want your rapper to fix your broken leg if you get a broken leg? Or say Brother Mansour went to medical school, would you want him to fix your broken leg? I wouldn't want my rapper trying to fix my broken leg. You feel me? I wouldn't want Lil Wayne trying to figure out what's wrong and why the bone is sticking out of my skin and how to fix that. But I would want a doctor from my community who looked like me, who studied to be a doctor, who understands anatomy in the human body, to fix my leg. So education isn't white, it's necessary. See what I'm saying? And it might be hard. But this is another thing. In life, there's hard, there's easy, then there's a third option, necessary. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of things, when we get down to it, when the rubber meets the road, who cares if it's hard? Question is it necessary? Do we need it? And if we need it, then we have to find a person who is designed to pursue that. And never mind how much time it takes. Never mind how hard it is. That there are people in this world who, see, there are certain things I don't have a tolerance for. I don't have the patience for. But there's somebody else who can just sit there until it's done. And that's their passion. That's what makes them happy. See? And so this will be our expert at this. You will be the expert at the other thing. This, and we'll all be experts, but in different areas. And then we can be interdependent and independent at the same time. You got your lane, she got her lane, he got his lane, but we all need each other's lane, because you do things that I can't do, right? So I created this company called the Self-Knowledge Academy, and it's a business. It's an LLC, Limited Liability Corporation, right? And within the Southern Knowledge Academy, there are several things that sort of, I would say, the universe or my creator, I call my creator my heavenly parents. That's what I call God. I call God my heavenly parents, right? So my heavenly parents gave me some instructions and some things to do, because I saw, like I said, when I was in D.C. in high school, and I saw these homeless guys sleeping on vents to keep warm and stuff, all these things. I was like, man, I do not want to work from the inside. How can I work from the outside and help the people and be so successful on the outside helping the people that it makes the people on the inside kind of embarrassed, to the point where maybe they say, well, maybe we need to get a little bit more serious, because the people on the outside, they're not going to come to us for solutions, because this guys like Mike Surgeon and other people on the outside handling business, they don't even, the people waking up, man, they're going to realize they don't even need us, which we don't, right? So I came up with these innovations. One of the innovations that I was talking about, where me and Sister Trina met, was this one called ARCETA Incorporated. Now, ARCETA is a phonetic acronym, okay? And it stands for the Recycling and Sustainable Industrial Development Authority. And what ARCETA is a national recycling program or initiative that I am organizing with some other organizers and activists around the United States, okay, so that we can coordinate all of our recycling together, so that we can work with other communities, other organizers in Atlanta, in the Bay, in Oakland, in California, in Texas, all over the United States. I've been communicating with different organizers, and we've been talking over a period of years now, building up a rapport, developing a relationship, a connection where there's trust, right? And mutual accountability, so that we can take all of our trash from the inner city, put it together, and then use the revenue to invest in projects that are important to us. Now, prior to World War II, Gandhi in India did this thing with the people, talking about homespun movement. Because what was happening was they were growing cotton in India, like was being grown in the South, in a lot of states. They were growing cotton. They were taking the cotton. The British Empire, they took over India. They had them growing all this stuff. Then they would take the raw materials, take it back to Europe in their factories, create pants and shirts and different things. Then they bring it back to India on ships and sell it to the people at higher prices. But they were getting the raw material from the people, right? So Gandhi got hip to it, and he was like, well, hold on, one way we can break them real easy is just taking the cotton and just weaving our traditional clothes like we used to back in the day, and don't even mess with their stores. Like, don't even buy cotton slacks or shirts or anything like that from their stores, right? So when they did that with the cotton and with the salt, they were able to deprive the oppressor, the colonizer, of valuable resources. And by depriving them of resources and then also doing political things and civil disobedience, different street protests and different things like that, they were able to weaken the British in India to the point where they had to pull out and give the people their independence. So the research question that I posed to myself, that's looking at it from the scientific or academic standpoint, or you could say the prayer that I prayed to my heavenly parents, that I asked the universe, I said, what is our homespun as like a hip-hop generation or young people in the United States? What's our homespun? What is the one thing that we could do real easy to, number one, dramatize or express or explain how severe our situation is as young people, right? But yet how determined we are to do something about it, but in a way that is not directly confrontational or directly militant. I kind of like the word militant. Violent. We don't want to go there. We want to be as nonviolent as we can be, and only as violent as we have to be, as an absolute matter of last resort and self-defense. But if we can be nonviolent, we should always be nonviolent. If that's an option, we should always look for that option. Fighting is never the best way, right? So I said, let's recycle. Let's recycle. It already exists. We don't have to create the technology. all we have to do is come together, but not to change somebody from one religion to another or from one political thought process to another thought process. Just to say, do you see enough in common with me, and do you see enough in common with him for us to put our trash together to do something better for all of us? So that's what I'm working on now. That's what we are finishing up. Where I'm at now in the process is we're having the brochure design that's going to go all over the country. It'll be the same brochure for everybody, for people to sign up and say they want to be a part of the recycling program. It's going to be spread over 10 years. So the goal is that 10 years from now, hopefully, we will be able to generate about $5 billion a year off of recycling. And then we'll be able to take that money and allocate it to different regions of the country, and different cities, different areas will get a certain allotment of money based on their population density, how many black people live in that area. And then there will be local committees put together of people in the community to vote on how they want to allocate their resources for that year, how they want to prioritize their resources. See what I'm saying? So some people in one part of the country, they might build a school first. Other people, they might be suffering more from health disparities. So they might want to build a clinic, you know, and staff with a doctor or two. That might be how they want to allocate theirs at first. But we feel like that the people in the community on the ground, they know what they need. They just don't have a lot of people who respect their wishes, who when they go to the people and say, what do you need, that they'll actually follow through. So I want this thing to be something that is for the community, where it can be accountable to the community. And it can exist as almost like, I'm calling it like a piggy bank for the hood. The hood needs its own piggy bank that nobody else can put their hands on. You know what I'm saying? Or they're going to have a problem from the hood if they do. See what I'm saying? This is also something that poor people can do. Because even if we're on public assistance, we all make trash. You see what I'm saying? So there is no qualification level for getting involved with this recycling program. See? So we have some other things that we're doing in Arceta too. But the thing I'm most happy about is the recycling program, because that's going to give us some economic independence and some leverage as far as being able to develop on our own terms and not having to feel like we need permission from other people to make our own decisions. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to stop there. I'll say one more poem for you guys before you leave if you have time. You got time? Yeah. Okay, and I'll try to make this one as clean as possible. It has a couple little cuss words. I don't cuss very much. Sometimes I do, but not that much. But I'm going to try to bleep them out of this one. Okay? This one's called Why I Write. Goes like this. The reason I write is to transmit life to soulful minds in decline, a cognitive recession of spirit personified, crucified to the cross of material, a Babylonian burial party craving democracy, insatiable appetite. Religion is morbidly obese, overweight for the rapture, the end time apocalypse now because they're out of shape. The poor pay them tithes, sell their lives on tape via satellite. R. Kelly be Neo-Reverend Lee on crack. 106 in Park, make last summer in the day back. Watchwords for now, Bricks, Patron, and Maybach. Stiletto, Fendi, Gucci, Prada, corporate name brand Negroes got a lot of logic lacking. Talented 10th got the masses backed in a corner. Call Katrina the track, done said forget it. Ad-libs, all muttered murmurs about nothing more than hypocritical congregations, hysterical cliques, pies, and burners. Fake rosters, cultural bastards, pseudo-griots, trivial Negroes in pursuit of peas without truth. Think their dreadlocks and Kwanzaa dashikis be proof they ain't sellouts. Can't stand kitchen. Talk all day but don't know how to listen. Try the spirits, not the privates. Metaphysical intercourse to induce more than orgasms. Spasms of hedonistic flesh scared to love, let alone trust. Moisturizing our situations and preserving our sexy and abject lust and ignorance. And we punch from the opponent's 30 and for what? Investors in our own damnation. Afraid of God and Satan. Show you right from left and you say I'm hating. No, not one who gets destroyed, 40 and neocons, political tricksters. The oil be the smoothie, wash your brains, beat the mixture of fair and balanced public broadcasting. Stationed in myopia, never the whole nut, just a soundbite. Liberation reveals the truth. Well, make like you're wise, then make like the youth. Enter the kingdom. Learn humble don't mean stupid, then you won't get juked. Through life, I find that writing rocks out of water from fire to the air infinite, universally fertile sediment. However, bequeath to posterity, because most of the folks these days ain't hearing me. Call me crazy, try to play me, steady mocking my arc. But when the deluge cometh, then they loving my art. Wanna drop names when all they played was games. Traded me to the Heat, thought they could run the team. High-scoring losers, hip-hop squares calling themselves hoopers, smug subordinates, incalcitrant hypocrites, iniquities teachers, KKK Hoosiers stuck on stupid intelligence. Took all the other courses, just couldn't pass the math. Now take a bath in an ocean of wisdom, Rasta Lama. The industry/game see me kind of blue. Son of a fish, they call me in derision. Since I blaze through water, eluding work plantation, that red, white, and blue incarnation of Satan in the form of a nation blowing up the world for globalization. Said I blaze through water, eluding work plantation, that red, white, and blue incarnation of Satan in the form of a nation blowing up the world for globalization. That is Eurocentric indoctrination. I'm teaching black kids the value of books, potential for violence and ahistorical looks. Staring and staring for no reason, committing treason against their uniqueness as human beings. Wonder how many more eons we're going to continue to settle for the unenviable position of peons. Something, not sure what, says much, much longer. Perhaps too long for some whose only commodity defense mechanism is difference. Oddities within the theoretical framework of ignorance persistence. Surface very too shallow, please get deeper so Martha can tell Mary don't be no weeper. And in the morning find our souls released so Martha can tell Mary don't be no weeper. And in the morning find our souls released from this wilderness past 10 years peace. And in the morning find our souls released from this wilderness past 10 years peace. And in the morning find our souls released from this wilderness past 10 years peace.
Anybody has questions for him?
Questions, comments?
What's your YouTube name?
Mike Surgeon. M-I-K-E Surgeon. S-U-R-G-E-O-N. And I got some songs and poems on there to some music. I have a few examples on there. Working on the EP release party and stuff like that. Probably be doing that in February. And then the album will be coming out like later in 2015. But I've been working on that for a long time too. It's been a labor of love. We've been doing it underground, paying out of our own pocket and everything like that. So I've learned a lot more about music and the business behind it than I would have if I had gone a traditional route and let a lot of other people handle the details. But when you let other people handle those details, a lot of times they handle that money too. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you don't see the benefits as much. So sometimes working with a smaller team of people and doing a lot more of it yourself, you learn more, and then you benefit more in the long run too, because you can keep more of the proceeds once it actually comes out. But the music is something that I love, the poetry as well. But the thing that I'm most passionate about is the community work. This stuff like I'm doing right here today, the recycling, and trying to find some ways for us to link more of what we're doing around the country nationally so that people can feel like they're a part of a larger community and a larger experience, and we don't have to feel so isolated. Because a lot of times, that's, I feel like how we get beat too is psychologically, sometimes we feel like we're the only ones trying to be positive. And I think it's important for young people to see and be connected to other people like themselves around the country. And that when you guys get older, get out of high school, get into adulthood, that there are some jobs and some career path options that will exist for you guys that did not necessarily exist for Brother Hatem and myself, when we were in school or just getting out of school. So we're working real hard to try to put some things into place and bring some things online that you guys will have as options that we didn't have as options, but that's what it's all about. We got to put you guys in a stronger position so that when you get older, you can be happy, be empowered, and then when you do have families and you have kids and things like that, you can put them in a stronger position and keep on building like that, just like the pyramids, brick by brick, till we get to the top. You know what I'm saying? So, thank y'all for having me. Appreciate you listening.
Too black,
too strong.
Oh, that was weak.
Too black, too strong.
What's your name?
Moina.
What is it?
Moina.
Moina?
Willie.
Good message.
Mm-hmm.
Good reading. Nice to meet you. Shakir, nice to meet you.
Who they from?
Who?
They.
Who?
They.
They. Who they from? Okay, nice to meet you. That's right.
We all have African names, and so many brothers and sisters have yet to progress to that level. They may not understand that where they got their slave name from in the first place. Again, how important is it to embrace an African name? I'm a late arrival, I must confess. Perhaps your parents gave you an African name at birth. Is that not correct? Indeed. Now, how important, how difficult was that for you, being raised in the African American community with an African name when a lot of your friends walk around with Barrys and Joes and Susans and everything?
I believe that the New African Panthers are about serious freedom, really reaching out and embracing serious freedom. If you truly want serious freedom and serious liberation, and you want to have self-determination, how can you do that with the name that somebody else gave you? You know what I'm saying? The name from a person who didn't even respect you. You know, so when my mother here, she literally liberated me at birth, cut the tie off at birth, and set me on the path.